just to be specific. Spitting, sifting through they airways like Bree Specific. Got more power than 92.
What's up, everybody? It's Bree Specific, and I've been doing a lot of. It's funny. I've been doing a lot of like movie interviews and interviews surrounding like different film directors. But I'm especially excited to interview this director. This movie is an independent film. It's based in Chicago. It is based in Chicago, correct?
Yes.
Yes, based in Chicago. It has a lot of Chicago influences, a lot of Chicago actors. Behind the scenes, a lot of Chicago production and direction. And I'm here with Muhammad Bilal. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great. I'm great. I do want to say congrats on the movie.
Thank you.
No problem. I was grateful, well, privileged enough to be able to watch it before everybody else. And it's definitely a good movie. We definitely talked about it a little bit. So I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell people the name of the movie. And we can start there. Yeah, let's start there.
Well, I'm Muhammad Bilal. I'm a Chicago native. I'm from the South Side of Chicago. I live in New York City now, but everything about me is still Chicago. Born and raised, I lived mostly over not too far from DuSable Museum. So I grew up by Washington Park mostly, and that really influenced the film I made. Right now, I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm also an educator. I'm a principal of a high school out here in Queens, New York City, where I currently live. And I'm still making films. With any opportunity I can. I'm making films and casting and holding auditions as much as I can.
How is that balance, having a full-time job and still being able to produce films?
It's a hustle because being a principal, your work is never over, and same thing with a filmmaker, But I kind of find that there's a lot of similarities in them because you're a performer. As a principal, you have to direct performers as a filmmaker. So both of them are dealing with really engaging people and having some level of entertainment and excitement, if you will.
Okay, I like that. So congratulations on all of that, because it's almost like you live in two lives. Like once you get done one job, click into the other one. So yes, congratulations on still being level-headed, continuing to follow your dreams. So what made you direct or create this particular movie?
Well, you know what? I think for me in 2020, there was a lot going on that was affecting my mental health. When we were in the house, we couldn't go out. And then we got inundated with all this police brutality that was on TV. A lot of things that would bother me that I would ignore, I really couldn't ignore it like I used to. Usually I could like bury my stress and my own PTSD in my work. I could bury it by just staying busy or taking a trip. But in 2020, I felt like I was confronted with a lot of mental health issues of my own. And for me as a filmmaker and a writer, I just found it therapeutic to just start, writing and expressing what I was going through and what I was feeling. And a lot of what I put into the film is connected to things I was going through myself. So we see a lot of that even in the film with the protagonist. And also I started to get mental health therapy for myself for the first time in my life in 2020. After seeing so much happening with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, a lot of that was really affecting me, and it was making a lot of trauma that I lived as a young man that I had suppressed that started surfacing also. So a lot of that really influenced me to start writing. Also, I didn't have anything else to do. So in 2020,
we had a lot of time on our hands.
Right, yeah. It was the perfect time. And, the therapy sessions I was having, I just started writing and, I was getting that influence also just through the therapy and then through what I was seeing on television all the time. And you see that a lot in the film and the way I presented the film and even the way the film, well, I don't want to spoil anything. You saw it. Even the way the film is the shape it takes, if you will. And it unfolds.
Yeah, with the film being centered around, which I personally adore that it was centered around Black men and mental health. Specifically Black men, because I feel like it's so hard, especially in Chicago, a city where we have so much violence and so much like not as much progression when it comes to equality and things like that. So when it comes to Black men who are honestly at the center of it, it's really hard for them to find a space where they can even have an idea of what path they can take to start that mental health journey. So even given the name of the movie, can you tell me the name of the movie and how it's significant to the actual movie itself?
Of course. So the movie is called Perdido, which means lost in Spanish. But actually, like a lot of people say, well, why did you pick a Spanish term when it's a movie that's dealing with Black men? Dinah Washington was a Black singer, and she has a song called Perdido. And one time I was listening to the song, I was like, what does that even mean? So usually when I pick a title for a film, I try to get something significant that grabs your attention. Perdido is a Spanish word, but it means lost. And I feel like as a Black man, and a lot of Black men I know, we are kind of lost when it comes to dealing with mental health, because we haven't been really taught to express what we're going through. We haven't been given the space, as you say, to talk about it. Some of us don't even know how to verbalize it without being deemed weak or, being soft. So we bottle a lot of things in, and, we have this tough exterior where we act like we're unbothered. But yeah, that was the inspiration of the film, is the way I felt lost. And I wanted to show how a lot of Black men are lost when they're dealing with trauma and mental illness, and they don't know how to deal with it.
And there is technically there's Black and brown representation in the film as well.
Yes. So, being in New York City, it's influenced me too, because in Chicago, we're very homogenous, at least when I grew up in Chicago. I know we have gentrification going on, where now a lot of areas that used to be primarily Black are more mixed. But coming to New York City, I'm around a lot of brown people. And actually, what Black means in New York is very different from what I was accustomed to in Chicago. So you have a lot of people who are Spanish speaking, or they're Latinx, if you will, but they're Black like me and you. So a lot of that influenced the writing. So in the film, I don't mind, this isn't a spoiler, the therapist is Afro-Latino. He identifies that way in real life also. So I also wanted to just explore in the film that Black isn't necessarily Latin American. We have a lot of Black populations all around the world. Black isn't just African American. We have a lot of populations in Latin America who are now openly identifying as Afro-Latino. So I was very intentional in casting a Afro-Latino therapist, because a lot of the struggles we experience as Black people around the world are very similar, especially around mental health.
I think that's good that you did bring that part of, you living in New York and the New York culture to Chicago, because I feel as if me living in Chicago, we're just now getting accustomed to it's being so much of a melting pot, and like Black and brown people being in the same neighborhoods, and we're just intertwining now. So I thought it was really dope that you added that touch of like the Black and brown intersection in the movie.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So let's talk about this cast.
Okay.
Because I love the cast. I actually was introduced to everything that was going on by one of the cast members. So let's just talk about just like the screening and how you decided to pick who was involved and how was that process?
Oh, that was a really difficult process, because my thesis film, The Blue Cave, was really successful. That's how I met our host, Antoine Tanner. So it's really interesting, like when you start making a film, even if you're a new filmmaker, you'll end up in rooms with people you've been watching your whole life. Like I've been watching Antoine Tanner since the 90s when I was in high school. Robert Townsend I got to meet, right? So you're meeting all these different people, but I was really intentional with who I casted. I really wanted to have the right people, So I had to get over, I know this person is really famous, but are they right for the character, right? So casting, we cast for about a year, and meeting people allowed me to reach out to people who I see on TV all the time. Casted in LA, we casted in New York, we casted in Chicago. But I was very intentional though about getting people who were in Chicago to be in the film, and getting people who are about the work. Because that's another thing. Sometimes you get big names and they feel like their name does everything, but then you have some people who have a big name, but they still take the work serious, even though they're doing an independent film that's not on cable or network TV. So for me, it was really just finding people who are passionate about the film and the topic. That's really how I was pitching it, and pitching it to people who had, because everybody's in the film is well credited. We got Hannah Hall from The Chi. Reggie Watkins is on TV all the time. Bosch, Rescue 911, he's been on everything. Fidel Vicioso, who plays the therapist, He's on all the New York shows all the time. And Harper, I can't mention one of the films he's in. No, one of the TV shows he's in yet. His agent said we can't say it yet, but he's in a lot of shows also. But we
He's
really,
been like a Chicago superstar since birth.
he is
So
right. But really, I mean, it was, and also what I did, and this is for all the people, like you really just got to start writing. You don't wait until like you get a big break. People will take you serious if you wrote something strong and you sound like you know what the hell you're talking about. Because I wrote to a lot of some of the people in the film. I wrote to their agents with the script, and I got a lot of responses back. You know, there was some time conflicts with some people, but for the most part, a lot of people they liked the film and it resonated with them. So I was able to get a cast that I was really, really, really happy with. But it took us literally about a year to assemble the cast that we had.
And I could definitely see why you did get a lot of responses back, because the film is definitely perfect for the times that we're living in today, especially being based in Chicago, especially dealing with mental health, adults dealing with mental health, you know, people who have, you have the career, you have the family, you have, you know, the children, and life looks perfect, but there's still a part of you that, you know, 1 second can literally change your life and you don't know how to deal with it. So with that, we are having an event that I happen to be a part of. Thank you for involving me in your event.
Thank you for coming on board. We're very
No
happy to have you.
problem. So let's talk about it. October 28th, what is going on in Chicago?
We got the red carpet film premiere of Perdido. So yeah, we're bringing it out. We're gonna have the red carpet. It's gonna be a big event. We got our leading actress who will be there, Hannah Hall. She'll be present. We got you, of course, and then we got Antoine Tanner who's gonna host. So he's flying in from LA to host. And then we have a lot of partners coming out because we're working with some mental health organizations. But we're gonna screen the film. You know, we're feeding people. It's free. It's at the DuSable Museum of Black History, DuSable Black History Museum and Education Center. So we're going to have the event there on Saturday, October 28th. We're going to premiere the film. We're going to have the Q&A with myself, Harper, Anthony, Hannah Hall, and also Eric Carter, who plays the dad, who I think people are he's going to be a treat for people. Some good ways, some bad. And then we're going to have this big panel discussion, which I'm happy to have you moderating with us, where we're going to talk about the stigma. We're going to talk about the film. We're going to talk about the stigma of mental illness and how it impacts Black and brown men, but most importantly, how it impacts Black families. Because anytime you're having an issue with Black men, it's affecting Black women and Black children. So we're going to talk about the stigma, but then we're also going to talk about what we can do moving forward. So that's why one thing that's really important coming out of the event is not just that people are edutained with this film. We also want them to have access to mental health services. That's why I partnered with TMH Man Cave that gives mental health services to Black men. We got Black Men Heal that gives free services, mental health services to Black men across the country. NAMI is our official sponsor of the event, and they're working across the nation, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we also have Step Up for Mental Health, who are right in Chicago also. So we have a lot of mental health organizations who will be present that will offer services to people, because the goal of this event is to encourage, especially Black men, to prioritize their mental health.
I love it. It's like
we got 1 million motivated. I don't want to leave nobody else. We got 1 million madly motivated moms. 1 million madly motivated moms. They actually support victims of police brutality, primarily Black families. And then Phi Beta Sigma is also a partner who will be present at the event.
It's amazing how many mental health resources we have that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Exactly. And then it's a struggle also, because even though, you know, I have benefits as a principal, it's hard for me to find mental health services who will take my medical. So even for those of us who have resources, it could be a struggle. But with this film, I wanted to make sure, I didn't want people seeing this film and you know, being emotionally moved, but not having any type of access or not having any type of support. So wanted to be really intentional about the panel, but also really intentional about having free resources present that people can go to in Chicago.
The film is definitely a call to action, because even I was like, let me sign up for BetterHelp or something. Like, they really have you like thinking back on your own mental health. up and saying, like, is there some work that I feel like I should be doing right now with my
And
so
to
I know
that,
if I feel like that, everybody else is gonna feel like that.
I hope so, because I mean that's the goal. And then to your point, I try to have a little something in the film for everyone. Everyone, especially in the Black community, will see themselves, I think, in some way in this film. I try not to say who's right or wrong, even with, I won't spoil it. There's some things that we discussed before. After
But the ending, oh my God, that's all I'm gonna say.
right. The ending is like, so I try to make it real because I want, and that's why I think it's important to have the panel discussion because I know people will want to talk. And that's why also, we're happy to have you to help us engage the audience, especially. We want somebody who's lively and vibrant and can get the audience talking and speaking too. That's why we're very excited that you'll be there. And we're very intentional. We said we want somebody who really can get the audience talking because we don't want them to just look at this panel of experts having their conversation. We want the audience to get involved. So we're really excited about that as well.
And that's how you become solution based. I think, yeah, we talked about it before. It's like, you just don't want people to come and just get the information. We really want you to understand it and apply it. And if you do have questions, even in layman's terms, if you have questions, you should be open or comfortable enough where it's like, hey, I really never knew about this part of mental health. Let me get up and be comfortable enough to ask this question to these panel of experts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially, and again, that's why I was so intentional about having this. They'll see throughout the film how our protagonist even begins to change and open up. It wasn't easy. So I'm hoping this will inspire the brothers who are there to start to participate in this conversation and be more open. And I hope they can really relate to it. And again, the way I wrote it and the way I presented the film was based off how I struggled to open up, to therapy and even get used to therapy,
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of already answered it, but if it's one thing that you would want an audience member to take from this movie, what will it be?
I really want audience members to take away from the film that, there's nothing wrong with having a mental health issue. We all have them, right? I think the thing that's wrong, and wrong because it'll hurt you, not wrong in a judgmental way, is if you ignore it and allow it to have a detrimental impact on your life and the people around you. So I'm hoping it motivates people to deal with their own mental health and to really address a lot of issues that can be holding them back. Because at some point, if you suppress your mental health issue, we're usually one trigger away from having a breakdown.
You just explode, yeah.
Right. You're one trigger away from it. And I want people to get more comfortable talking about it, but also listening to it. Because I know also in our community, we haven't historically been friendly and supportive of each other when we talk about mental health as a community. I know it's changing, but I think we still have a lot of work to do about opening up about our mental health. I know prayer is important.
Sure.
Prayer is important. Being strong is important, but
you still got to.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Still have to do.
Yeah, find that place for therapy, and that's what I hope people take away. That they change how they look at therapy, and they are more inspired and motivated to go get the help they need to live a fuller and better life and deal with their mental.
For sure. So can you let everyone know where they get the tickets for October 28th, the screen and the panel discussion on mental health? It's totally free, so don't be afraid to go ahead and grab those tickets. Let them know where they can find the tickets.
Or they can go right to Eventbrite at perdido.eventbrite.com. So Perdido is PERDIDO.eventbrite.com. No www, just perdido.eventbrite.com. We still have tickets. We're gonna have food. We're gonna have everything. It's gonna be a great night. And
we're also linked in my bio too.
We're gonna have Bree Specific there. So
I will be there. Food and me. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Muhammad. Oh, let them know where they can find you.
Oh, they can find me also on IG, Bilal World Entertainment. That's BILAL World Entertainment. That's one word. And then also Real Muhammad Bilal, spelled just like Muhammad Ali, MUHAMMAD BILAL, Real Muhammad Bilal.
Well, thank you so much. And I will see you on the 28th.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
All right. Talk to you later.